Howdy neighbors, David here. And today on Boondock Stallions, we're going to be presenting a theory that's going to butthurt a lot of fanboys on Facebook. So, before we get started, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so I can keep pumping out more content for you to call me an idiot about in the comments down below. Now, as you've noticed, I am not at my usual set at home. I'm actually on location at my restaurant. I am now a restaurant owner. This is my tiny little office, and this is the employee fridge. The whole thing's still under construction, and I hope to be open here by the end of the month. But let's talk beforehand about a little disclaimer about this Omega theory. Now, first of all, it's just a theory. It's just a theory. We're going to talk about Star Wars / Omega / The Bad Batch / The Mandalorian, and how I think that Omega and Elia Kane are the same person, how I'm kind of an idiot, how this theory is just a theory and doesn't have to be established canon, and how I butthurt a lot of fanboys on Facebook. Anywho, so I have two theories to propose, because there's theory A, which is Omega is bad, which I don't like, but I can map it out with, evidence. And two, the good Omega theory, that she is still a good person, and what we saw from a certain point of view might actually be a good thing. And I know, bear with me, this is Star Wars. Everything here relies on its own point of view. And the reason that I'm recording this on set, in case you're wondering, is because I recorded it, and that video failed to transfer to my editing equipment, and so I had to reshoot this whole thing on the fly. So if I mumble and fumble just a little bit, forgive me, but I'll make it through to the end nonetheless. So, Omega is bad. Theory number one. Now, like I said, this is just a theory, and you don't have to hold it to anything, but if you pay attention to Season 2 of The Bad Batch, actually, you know what? Stop. Beforehand, let's pretend that everything that we know about the clones is a lie, that we've been lied to since the beginning. And if you're going to go into this thinking that you know every single thing about the clones and everything that went on during the Clone Wars and on Kamino while Jango Fett was being cloned, then I'm sorry, you're an idiot. But the good news is we're all idiots, I'm an idiot, and we're all here to talk about it. So, bad Omega. Now, assuming that everything we know is a lie, let's assume that they lied and told us that Omega doesn't have a chip in her head, but she does, and it is currently waiting for a trigger like Order 66 that would convert her to the dark side. Now, and I say the dark side, you know what I mean. Earlier in the season, there was a clone trooper who had been reprogrammed, had his mind wiped, had his serial number wiped, and even had a little suicide thing under his teeth so that he could bite down on it and kill himself instead of betraying the Empire and give up any information that the rebels or other clones might need. So we already know that at this cloning facility they are reprogramming clones. Now, if you haven't seen Season 2 of The Bad Batch's finale, sorry, spoiler alert, Omega was in fact captured by the Empire and taken to this cloning facility where they are reprogramming clones. And that it left it on a cliffhanger, but that's what's going to lead into Season 3 of The Bad Batch and even The Mandalorian, because what we could be seeing, if this is Omega, we could be seeing something of a redemption arc. They could break through the chip like they did with Captain Rex at some point in The Mandalorian and give us our Omega back. And having said that, it's a dark theory, and I don't like it very much because it takes this good character and makes them bad. But I mean, wasn't that the entire purpose of the prequel trilogy, was to show you this well-intentioned, good-hearted, good-natured person who was Anakin Skywalker, this boy, this 10-year-old child who would grow up to be the greatest threat to the galaxy, aside from Palpatine and how he somehow returned. Anywho, so it's not like it would be unheard of for these things to rhyme the way that George Lucas always spoke of, having his stories kind of tell the same stories with new people in new places and just have them kind of be a little bit different but still the same, if you know what I mean. Anywho, let's see, where was I going with this? So, if we assume that at the end of Season 2 of The Bad Batch that Omega is there, and when we get to Season 3 that her clone brothers are coming to rescue her, what if they get there and she's already been fully converted and says something tragic along the lines of a good soldier follows orders? Or even worse, what if Omega is a sleeper cell right now and has absolutely no idea she's just collecting data on The Bad Batch for her curse and inevitable betrayal later on? Like I said, it's a dark theory and I don't really like it, but I can also make it work for the good theory. So, Theory number two. Theory number two relies solely on our point of view in the Star Wars universe, and I'm going to talk about Dr. Pershing. People are looking at Dr. Pershing like he is a good person, and he's not. Remember, points of view. He was an unethical doctor who committed war crime after atrocious war crime during the Clone Wars and what he did to further the advancement of cloning technology. Don't think that he's a good person just because he gave you a sob story about his mother dying and wanted to complete her work, and had cloning been able to help her, that she might not have died when she did. Everything he's doing is what villains like Grindelwald would have done. You know, they're doing it for the greater good, and the greater good is usually embedded with some kind of selfish motive, and for him it's saving his mother's life. And I'd like to compare Dr. Pershing to a real life war criminal known as Werner von Braun. If you don't know who Werner von Braun is, he was a war criminal during World War II. He was a Nazi scientist, and because of a deal that he made with the government to get us to the moon and win the space race, he was given amnesty and allowed to live here in the U.S. But any other civilized country on the planet would have executed him for his war crimes, but he had a deal with the U.S., so he was allowed to live. That doesn't mean that he's a good person. It just means that he made a deal. And I'm not trying to open up a political debate. That's a matter of fact. Look it up. Hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think about it. But that being the case, Dr. Pershing is not a good person. And in the show, he talks about having to make more and more unethical choices for the greater good of the Empire. And he's just going to commit more and more atrocities. Now, let's say that this is Omega. Let's say that this woman is Omega. And if you've seen Katie O'Brien physically underneath her uniform, the girl is cut. Look at these photos. Look. 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 The girl's a beast. The girl looks like she bench presses gonk joints. It looks like she spent a lot of time with Echo and Tech and Wrecker and grew up to be a bad bitch. Anywho, let's say that this is Omega and she is trapped on Kamino, or I'm sorry, on that cloning facility at Season 2, and her brothers do initiate a rescue attempt to get her. What if they get captured and Dr. Pershing is there, and Dr. Pershing is responsible for conducting more tests on all of her brothers and is the reason that they are no longer alive in the Star Wars universe, and Omega has been double, triple downing on her double agent skills so that she could infiltrate every layer of the Empire to get close to Dr. Pershing and get her exact revenge for what he did to her brothers. And if you look at it from that point of view, Elia Kane has a lot of Omega qualities. She's smart. She stands like Jango Fett. Her physical demeanor is very much like Tamara Morrison's Jango Fett. Just pay attention to how she conducts herself and how she presents herself. Also, a lot of people are saying that she's too young to be the character. Well, I'm sorry. The actress is 35 years old currently, and Omega would be roughly 42 maybe at this point, so she can play a character that's 7 years older. I mean, let's look at how Fennec Shand or Bo-Katan didn't really age from the Clone Wars to years later in The Mandalorian. They still look amazing, and she could just have good genes. I mean, she was genetically modified in the lab. Right? Anyways, and there was also speaking about her hair color. I mean, hair color changes over time. I know kids that were blonde as little kids, and they grew up to have fully grown brown hair, and that's just how things happen. And her accent, if you're going to complain about her accent, I would like to remind you that when you meet young Hera Syndulla in Season 1 of The Bad Batch, she has a full-on Twi'lek/French accent, and when she grows up and you meet her again in Star Wars Rebels, she has outgrown it because she has acclimated herself to her environment and her surroundings, and she's never in one place and has developed a new manner of speaking. So those are my theories. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I know I'm stupid and this theory butthurt a lot of guys. Boo-hoo-hoo. But it's just a theory. Doesn't mean it's right, and doesn't mean you have to like it. It's just out there. It's something I was thinking about, and I know that I'm not the only one. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes.